Good evening, everybody. How's everybody doing? Hopefully everybody's having a wonderful week so far. I just decided, I wanted to go ahead and put out a video regarding the the 6 things that everybody should look forward to if they want to get into the Fiat Abarth 500, whatever you want to call it, if you want to get into the Abarth game. These are just going to be 6 things that you have to look forward to. They may or may not happen to you, but I figure I just want to air this out there, let people know what to expect when it comes to owning one of these characteristic cars. I'm gonna list them from 6 down to 1, and from there, just take my information with a grain of salt. Again, like I said, you may experience it, you may not. Remember, this is the Budget RS. This is my 2012 Fiat Abarth rebuilt title. So everything I have experienced is post crash. So yeah, let's go ahead and get into it. So the number one thing you have to look forward to, excuse me, wow, I just completely went off the rails with what I said. Okay, so let's not get to the number one because that's kind of a kicker. Let's start with number 6. Number 6 with this car. I guess the little grievance that I have mainly is just the paint. And I don't want to say like the exterior paint, because remember, this is a rebuilt car, so it's got some scratches, some dings, some dents, things like that your average car is not going to have, as long as it hasn't gone through something like mine has, rebuilt title and stuff like that. But let's go ahead and get started. So when I mention paint, the paint that I am talking about is right here. That is something that you have to look forward to. Even if your car is only a couple years old, if this hasn't started happening, it is gonna happen. You can replace this as much as you want, unless you get a single dent or a double dent aftermarket. You have this to look forward to: the paint on the buttons rubbing off. Doesn't matter what, this car could be garage kept its whole life. I have used this car mainly for weekends or when my main car for work is down. And when I first got this car, the buttons were not this bad. I've only owned this car for a year, and the tuner button did not look like this at all. And the mute button did not have this issue either. It was mainly just the information and the volume down. As you can see, even with the number 1, it is starting to flake off. Tuner's already flaked off almost entirely. Volume and information, pretty much you can tell what a person has used the most. I don't know why information is flaking off, because I rarely ever press that. But yeah, there's that. Number 5, I'd have to say, is definitely, it's more of a fear factor. It's not something that you really have to worry about on a constant basis, but for the most part, these cars for some reason like to randomly throw a light, the ESC off, traction control off, hill start off. It likes to throw that code just in random periods. Luckily for me, it's only happened to me twice, but it does happen to most people. Sometimes you could be going over a bump. Sometimes, if you're driving on like I said, if you're driving over a bumpy road, it can happen. Me, it happened actually just driving down the highway, and it just randomly came on. I believe it was raining that day, and it scared me because this is my first time, really taking the car on a long distance drive, and it came on, and then just like that, boom, it went off. And yeah, from there, it's only happened one other time. And honestly, if it happens to you, most of the time it is going to automatically turn back off. If it doesn't, simply disconnect the battery, reconnect it, and you should be good to go. It's not really a crazy deal. If it keeps happening, that could be a bigger issue, but that's a rarity. My number 4 grievance is the shifter. The stock shifter is really sloppy. This is my aftermarket carbon fiber shift knob with a adapter down at the end. And as you can see, it has a little bit of play, but not much. When this was stock, the shift knob had no weight to it. I could just throw it around like nothing. The throws were really long, and it was very sloppy. It was a very sloppy shifter. I suggest to anyone, your first mod, if you're not looking to really get into like crazy performance, is to upgrade the shifter, whether it be a new F adapter, which is the cheaper route like I went, which is about $100, or if you want to go the medium expense route like the actual replacement shifters, those are normally between $200 or $300. Or if you just want to go extreme and get the whole shifter assembly, which those could range between $500 and $1,000 for the best ones. But definitely you want to get one of those. If you're just, if you're okay with it, that's fine. It's not something crazy, but if you're one of those people that likes to bang the gears, I definitely would suggest getting a tighter shifter and just go from there. Number 3 I'd have to suggest is that this right here. This is your armrest. This thing, if it doesn't break on you, expect it to. And when I say break, I mean the top part right here where the leather is. No matter what, this is most of the time going to break off on any Fiat that you get. The more it's used, the more likely it is to break. Now, it's a rarity for the whole arm to break off unless you put your whole entire weight on it. But you're most likely going to see this leather part at the top snapping at the clips. It's an easy fix, just glue it on, and as you can see, mine is actually glued on. You can see some of the glue residue right there, and it's been perfectly fine for about a year. It is starting to come undone again with the Florida heat. The glue kind of gets soft. For the most part though, I just I kind of don't use it. Sometimes I do, but it's been hanging in there. But that is something you want to expect when you own any Fiat. Most people kind of don't care, because as you can see, the passenger side doesn't even come with them in the older models. I believe the 15 and newer actually come with dual. So if you get 15 or newer, you're just gonna have to deal with the double. Again, like I said, if you want to avoid this, just try not to put all your weight on it. Try not to use this to push off or get in or pull yourself into the car, and you should be fine. I'd say number 2 it would definitely be more of an annoyance, and actually I have 2 items tied for number 2. The side skirts peeling, as you can see, they're held on just by double-sided tape. That is something you can expect with any Abarth, is these side skirts peeling. As you can see, I have fixed mine as best as I could, but if you take this car in to get any work done by a professional shop, most of the time they jack these cars up wrong, and it ends up peeling the side skirts right back off again. I actually had this side skirt perfectly on, went in to get a tire change, and yeah, they jacked it up wrong because this car sits kind of low, and they peeled it right back off again. So just be mindful of that with these cars. Getting it taken to shops, they're most likely gonna start the peeling process preemptively, because most shops jack these cars up wrong unless you go to the actual Fiat dealerships. Tied for second actually is also pretty much just everything that's a part of the door. The door handles, luckily I've been blessed to not have my door handles break, but these are plastic door handles with metal mechanisms on the inside. I have been blessed to not actually have to deal with this issue, but for the most part, they like to break right here. If you're going to be using your door handle a lot, which obviously everybody is, word to the wise, don't snatch it from here, which some people do for some weird reason. They pull it from here. Pull it from here and just kind of take your time. I mean, the door handles aren't that finicky, but if you do live in a colder climate, you want to take a little bit better care of pulling on the door handles, because they will break, and the metal inside will get brittle with time. And that is something you're going to have to look forward to if you snatch your door handle a lot and you live in a colder climate. Another one, I have 3 things tied for number 2. I apologize, but they're all pretty much less of a problem than number 1. And the third issue that I have tied kind of with number 2 again is this is another cosmetic, or it's a mix of both, is the window motors. These window motors are made out of glass. I've had my driver's side window motor go out once, and that's okay. They're pretty simple to fix. I actually fixed mine in about 45 minutes. And that was a learning process on this car. I'm not Fiat certified in anything. I just use this car simply as a learning process every day. I learn something new. But the window motors are really easy to take out. They're really easy to put back in. And they're about $100 a pop if you get them brand new. If you get them used off another car, if you're cheap, go that route. But honestly, I would suggest getting them new, because you never know when the used one might break on you, just like the original. Number 1 would definitely be the power. The stock power in these cars is nice for 1 passenger. The stock power on these cars is not enough, and I can't say this any stronger. I cannot say it is not enough for anything more than 2 people. You get 3-4 people sitting in this car, 160 horsepower from the factory is not enough. I really wish these cars came with the Fiesta ST power limit, which is about 197. This car would have done really well with 197 horsepower. I don't know why they went with 160. I guess to keep, I believe that has something to do with EPA standards. You know, every car brand out there has to have that one fuel efficient car. I don't know why they chose to do it with all the 500s when they easily have the Pops, the Guccis, and things like that could easily maintain that EPA standard, but they decided to only give the Abarth 160. Luckily, I've done some work to mine. As you can see, excuse me, I've done some work to mine, so I've actually got mine up to about 200 to the wheels, and 230 wheel torque, which is perfectly good for 2 people. I can easily pull 2 people in this car, no problem, and it still feel fast. Anything more than that is not possible because I removed the rear seats, so there's that. But again, yes, that is my number 1 gripe, and that's the number 1 that most people who are looking for the noise, the personality and everything of this car, that's probably going to be your biggest issue, and it's probably going to affect you the most out of all the other issues that I've mentioned in this video. For some people, 160 is enough. You know, some people have those high horsepower cars already and they just want a round town getter. If that's the case, this car, 160 horsepower, is perfectly good for this car. But if you're looking for this car to be your track car, if you're looking for this car to be your fun weekend car like I was, 160 is not, it's going to be fun in the beginning, especially with the sport mode, because non-sport I believe limits it to about a 135, 150-ish, and then when you press sport, then you get the full torque, full horsepower. But definitely you're going to probably start modding the vehicle once you've actually gotten used to the 160. But then again, what car person doesn't get used to the power and want more? With that being said, you know, those are my 6 things. Well, technically 9, but I should have just did a top 10 video. But those are my 6 things that I really just kind of have an issue with this car. Again, this is a great car. The personality of this car is unmatched by any other car. But I would definitely suggest that anybody who is looking at one of these cars to pick it up. You can pick these up for really cheap right now. You know, rebuilt, brand new. They're pretty good cars. They're pretty cheap on the used market. You're getting a lot of car for the money on the used market value for these vehicles. Again, you know, thank you for visiting my channel. Feel free to leave a comment. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you have any questions. I'll be I'd be happy to answer them for you. And like, subscribe. I'm gonna start trying to make this more of a regular thing. I do apologize, I am in school right now, so you know, I try to get a video in every couple of days. And yeah, just let me know what you want me to focus on with this car. Again, if you got any other questions, feel free to leave a comment. I read all my comments, and I'll be happy to answer them. Thank you, and have a good one.